the empire hidden behind the pyramids. Ancient Nubians built more pyramids than ancient Egyptians, yet their civilization is still absent from most history lessons. One of those pyramid-building kingdoms would eventually conquer Egypt, rule as pharaohs, and later confront the power of Rome. Its soldiers even seized a larger-than-life bronze portrait of Emperor Augustus and carried the severed head south as a trophy. Then they buried it beneath a temple staircase, where generations of visitors would unknowingly walk directly over the ruler of Rome. This was Kush, a powerful African civilization centered along the Middle Nile, mainly within the borders of modern Sudan. Its history brings together sacred mountains, conquering pharaohs, warrior queens, royal pyramids, iron workshops, and a language that scholars still struggle to understand. To find Kush, follow the Nile south from Egypt, through rocky cataracts, narrow bands of farmland, and immense expanses of desert. For centuries, Egyptian rulers occupied parts of Nubia, seeking control of its gold, ivory, trade routes, cattle, and human labor. As Egyptian authority weakened, local rulers established a new kingdom around Napata, near the sacred mountain known as Gebel Barkal. Kush was never simply a copy of Egypt transplanted farther south. It absorbed outside influences, then reshaped them through traditions of its own. Near Napata, Gebel Barkal rose abruptly from the desert and became closely associated with Amun, the powerful god of kingship. Kushite rulers turned this landscape into a center of temples, coronations, royal burials, religious ceremonies, and political authority. They commanded celebrated archers and controlled a river corridor linking Central Africa with Egypt, the Red Sea, and the markets of the Mediterranean. During the 8th century BCE, Egypt fractured among rival rulers, regional dynasties, fortified cities, and constantly shifting alliances. The Kushite king Kashta extended his influence into Upper Egypt, quietly laying the political foundations for a far more ambitious campaign to the north. Kush conquers Egypt. Kashta's successor, Piye, marched north to confront Egyptian princes who had underestimated the expanding kingdom beyond their southern frontier. As Piye's campaign advanced along the Nile, some cities resisted, some surrendered, and others tried to negotiate before the fighting began. His victory inscription presents him as a deeply religious conqueror, restoring sacred order, not simply taking territory for personal wealth. After his victory, Piye returned south to Napata rather than settling permanently in Egypt, reaffirming his connection to the Kushite homeland. But his dynasty now claimed authority over both regions, establishing the line of rulers later classified as Egypt's powerful 25th dynasty. Modern documentaries often call them the Black Pharaohs. It is a memorable phrase, though it was never their official political name in antiquity. These rulers adopted Egyptian titles and religious symbols while remaining Kushite kings, whose legitimacy was still rooted in Nubia and Napata. They restored temples, commissioned monuments, revived older artistic traditions, and portrayed themselves as defenders of proper pharaonic order. Under Taharqa, their realms stretched from central Sudan toward the Mediterranean, creating one of ancient Africa's largest interconnected states. But another imperial power was advancing from the northeast, one with organized armies, siege engines, and a reputation for crushing resistance: Assyria. In 671 BCE, the Assyrian king Esarhaddon captured Memphis, forcing Taharqa to retreat south after losing control of Egypt's northern capital. Taharqa later returned and Kushite resistance continued. This conflict unfolded through repeated campaigns, rather than a single, sudden collapse. Assyria struck again, sacking Thebes and bringing Kushite rule in Egypt to an end by the middle of the 7th century BCE. For many ancient kingdoms, the loss of Egypt might have meant extinction. For Kush, however, defeat marked a dramatic change in direction. The kingdom endured for centuries, even as its political and economic center gradually moved farther south toward the growing city of Meroe. Meroe, The written mystery. Meroe stood between the Nile and Atbara rivers, closer to seasonal rainfall and trade routes that reached deeper into Africa. Reservoirs, farms, cattle herding, pottery production, river transport, and long-distance commerce all supported a complex urban and religious landscape. Archaeologists also uncovered industrial zones and immense heaps of ironworking debris around parts of the ancient Meroitic capital. Those remains inspired the nickname Africa's Birmingham, although scholars still debate how completely iron production dominated Meroe's broader economy. A more dependable picture is of a busy capital filled with workshops, palaces, temples, markets, reservoirs, river traffic, and smoke. Kush also developed a writing system of its own, now known as Meroitic. It appears on monuments, funerary objects, pottery, and official inscriptions. Researchers can pronounce many of its written signs because the approximate sound values of the characters are now understood, but they still cannot fully translate the language because no long bilingual text comparable to the Rosetta Stone has survived. Kush therefore left behind written messages that scholars can often read aloud, even as their deeper meaning remains frustratingly beyond reach. That silence makes every Meroitic stela feel like a locked message from people whose voices seem almost, but never completely, recoverable. The civilization's most visible surviving messages are its pyramids. Compact, steep-sided structures rising sharply from the deserts of Sudan. Unlike the enormous pyramids at Giza, many Kushite examples were narrower and steeper, with small, decorated offering chapels attached. At Meroe, generations of kings, queens, princes, and powerful elites were buried across vast royal cemeteries crowded with pyramids. Their chapels once displayed prayers, offerings, divine figures, painted decoration, and carefully constructed images of royal power and protection. In the 1830s, the treasure hunter Giuseppe Fellini violently dismantled the tops of several pyramids while searching for hidden royal gold. Some of those monuments were permanently damaged, leaving behind the broken silhouettes that still shape how visitors see the pyramid fields of Meroe today. Fellini found spectacular royal jewelry, but the treasures came through destruction that erased valuable archaeological evidence forever. The Queen who forced Rome to bargain. Kushite history also produced something often overlooked in popular accounts of the ancient world: a series of politically powerful female rulers. Their royal title was Kandake, later transformed into the name Candace, although it originally referred to an office or rank. The most famous was Amanirenas, who is associated with a war that began soon after Rome took control of neighbouring Egypt. In 30 BCE, Augustus absorbed Egypt into the Roman world, placing imperial troops directly along the northern frontier of Kush. Several years later, Kushite forces attacked Roman-held towns near Aswan, carrying away captives, military trophies, and statues of the emperor. Among those trophies was an oversized bronze portrait of Augustus, with carefully modelled hair and striking eyes of glass and stone. The broken imperial head was carried hundreds of kilometers south, travelling along the Nile until it finally reached the city of Meroe. There, Kushite authorities buried it beneath the steps of a shrine connected with victory, turning Roman propaganda into an image of Kushite humiliation. The placement was probably deliberate. Rome's emperor remained trapped beneath the feet of worshippers entering a sacred Kushite building. Rome answered with force. The prefect Gaius Petronius marched south, defeated Kushite forces, captured settlements, and sacked the sacred center of Napata. Yet the destruction of temples and occupation of territory did not make Kush disappear, nor did they produce an uncomplicated Roman victory. Kushite pressure continued along the frontier, while Amanirenas sent envoys to negotiate directly with Augustus over borders and tribute. Most surviving details come from Strabo, a writer within the Roman world. That means Kush's own perspective remains largely inaccessible. Even so, Strabo reports that Augustus granted the envoys' requests and cancelled the tribute he had previously demanded from Kush. Kush had not conquered Rome, but it had preserved its independence and secured a stable frontier with the Mediterranean superpower. That outcome is more impressive than the exaggerated legend. a regional African kingdom had forced the emerging Roman Empire to bargain. Meanwhile, the Bronze Emperor remained beneath the temple steps, silently reversing Rome's carefully manufactured image of universal dominance. Peace encouraged a long period of contact, while Kush continued to build temples, royal monuments, reservoirs, settlements, and pyramid cemeteries. At Naka, the lion god Apedemak appeared alongside traditions linked to Amun, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and local Kushite religion. Kushite artists borrowed widely, but they never lost their own visual language of powerful rulers, lions, archers, crowns, and solar symbols. Trade connected Meroe with Roman Egypt, Red Sea networks, desert routes, and societies much farther within the African continent. Yet in the kingdom's later centuries, important economic, political, and regional systems appear to have gradually weakened. Scholars have proposed changing trade routes, political fragmentation, environmental pressure, declining resources, and conflict as contributing explanations. Around the 4th century, forces from Aksum reached the region, but no single invasion fully explains the disappearance of Kush. New kingdoms emerged, and later Christian Nubian states inherited landscapes, trade routes, settlements, and sacred centers shaped by Kush. Kush was not forgotten because it lacked achievements. It was obscured by histories that treated Africa mainly as the background to Egypt. Today, Meroe is recognized internationally, yet conflict, looting, neglect, and instability still threaten Sudan's extraordinary cultural inheritance. Remember the final image: pyramids rising from the sand, an unread language, and Rome's emperor buried beneath African feet.